Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be talking about the landlord from literal hell. She was literally from hell. She was like so annoying and just awful landlord. So basically, when I was younger, I lived in New York, and I lived in like a rent house with like my mother and stuff like that. And there was like a landlord, and we lived there because we lived in like a different rent house before that, and that one was like bad. But this one was like awful because number one, with this house, the landlord, she was very like very, I don't know how to explain it. Let me just get into the story. So basically, okay, let me just explain. Like, number one, when it came down to the stuff in the house, if anything like broke, she would not fix it. If the apartment needed painting, she would not paint it. And when it came down to things such as like heat or whatever, she would never put heat in the house. Like, literally, it would be December, damn near Christmas, she would refuse to put heat in the house. And when you did try to get her to put heat in the house, she would try to make it a big thing, or she would try to make it like your fault of why there was no heat in the house that you paid her rent for. And then after that, there was like these little problems in the house, and there would just be like, just like, if you know what I'm getting, like certain things in the house and stuff like that, like everywhere, like in the drawers, like they would just be like crawling and everything. It was just like awful. Like even opening the windows in your house, in your apartment, you can even do, because when you open the windows, all the stuff from the windows, like all the dirt and bacteria, because again, where you're living was so close next to like your own, everything would just come in, and you wouldn't even get fresh air from that. And then like her whole personality was just like something else. It was like she would try to bully you into like just accepting stuff like that. Like for example, when you were trying to like move and everything, she literally made up a rule that said you would have to give her 3 months notice, meaning that you would have to like stay in the house for like 3 months and then give her notice. Instead, usual, you would do like a 1 month notice and then you'd be able to leave. I don't explain it, but it was like something like that. And of course, we had to wait. We gave her like the notice and everything, and then after like a month or two, we like left the house, and then we moved into our own house and everything. And it was just, she was just an awful landlord. So there was like the stuff that was in the house, no heat and all that stuff. And that was like how it was always in the house. And then when she would turn the heat on top of that, it would be like literally blasting, like hot. And then when you would tell her to turn it down a little bit, it would be like something else. And then you couldn't control it because the heat was downstairs in the church, because she had her own church. And then she had like a whole like problem down there. And the only reason why she came upstairs is because the problems started to come upstairs towards her, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And all that stuff. And then on top of that, one time her church literally flooded out, and somehow she tried to literally blame us for it. And it was just like very annoying, because it's like, we don't even go to your church and it flooded out and somehow we were the problem. And I literally only came to her church like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5, because I had to go give the rent money to her. And every time I went to that church, I would literally get physically sick, because they would always be like, not spraying things, but they would light stuff, and the stuff sorry, that they would light would make me literally physically ill, and I could not take it, and it would give me headaches, and I just could not do it. So I would just put it under the thing for her, and she would come and get her rent, and that was that. And then on top of that, she always had this mentality of like, everything is your fault. Like I said, you could literally be doing nothing, and she would come upstairs and she would literally blame me for everything, and she would turn everything into this big thing. And then on top of that, there was like the neighbor that lived next door. We're gonna call her Beans. And then Beans was her whole problem herself, because Beans was like a thing in where like she would basically be like fake friends with like the landlord and stuff like that, and then say so like, oh, I'm not her friend, and then she would be like laughing and chuckling and stuff like that. And then Beans was had like a daughter who was just like awful towards me and whatever, and in return I was awful towards her, but somehow I got the blame for that too. And it was just so much with Beans. And then on top of that, Beans tried to send me to like go to the same school as her daughter because at the time Beans and Beans were like friends and everything, and they tried to like make me go to the same school. I did not, and I'm so happy I did not. But for some reason I wanted to, because like at the time I was like 11. I didn't know much. I was like, I want to be a friend. But then after I grew up, I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I'm so sorry. My throat, this raspiness is killing me. What else did I have to say about this story? Oh yeah, and then that's not even the worst part of it. The other part of it was literally the cat calling. Like I remember being 11 and just like leaving the house, and there would be some strange man like cat calling me. And if it wasn't cat calling, he would be staring, and it was just like so annoying because I had no peace. It was just like sometimes I would leave my house and they would like cat call me, stare at me, or try to talk to me, and it was just so much. And I remember another time when I was like 11, I was really trying to leave my house, and I was just minding my business, and I was literally waiting for the bus because I was going to summer camp, and there was this man who literally tried to like grab me off the street, and I was like, no, I cannot do this. I have no peace in my house. I have no peace in my apartment, and it was just awful day by day. And then there would be times where like you had like these like little like white things on the floor, if you know what I'm getting sick, if I'm trying to get at, and all that stuff. And then you had people who would literally sleep in their cars on the road, and they would like smoke weed and all that stuff, and they would like literally live in those cars, and you could just like smell it because apartments here, and then their cars are here on the road there, so like super duper close, not super close, but it's like close enough that's close. But then it's like super duper close at the same time because it's kind of like you walk outside and they're on the road, you see them living in their cars and stuff, and you can like literally open your door and you could smell it from there, and it was like just getting that bad. And then what else? I'm trying to remember. There was like that stuff, and it was just like getting out of hand to the point where my mother and I, she like decided that she would no longer like be living here because she didn't want me to live with me in that set environment. Because a lot of times when kids grow up in certain environments, because that's what they know and that's what they learn and that's what they're around in their head, it's like, I see this, I see that, I'm gonna do it because this is what I know, this is how I grew up, and this is like what's normal to me. Like, and then when you go and you move to like areas that are more like suburban, more clean and stuff like that, you kind of realize that certain things that they do in those areas are not normal and they're not good, and it's not healthy for you, and you should not be doing that. And I've been putting out this video because I had like school and stuff, and I just did not know how to like say it, but this is like the video that I've been wanting to pull out. And because I lived in the house for so long that I cannot really talk about it, because if I did, it would be like a big problem. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Since there was like a church basically connected to the house and everything, every Sunday you could literally not say anything. Like, you cannot talk, you cannot move, your TV cannot be on. Like, every Sunday religiously, you could not do anything. You just had to be quiet, or she could like kick you out. Like I'm saying, she could literally kick you out for anything. And that's another thing. And then after that, for some reason, every Sunday she would literally come upstairs and she would literally like just try to like look at the floor because apparently there was a problem. But it's like, your whole apartment is a problem. Like, it's infested, it's nasty. It's broken down. I mean, like, when the house was broken, I mean literally the house was broken down, and it was just a lot. And there's like more to it, but I'm trying to remember because I have not lived in the house in like 2 years, so I'm trying to like remember everything that happened. So anywho, like, there's more to the story, but I'm trying to picture everything I remember because I've not lived in the house in like literally 2 years, but everything's just coming back to me as I'm talking about it, and that's like the honest truth. And then the house itself was a very, very old house, like to the point where you would go into like the rooms and they would have like these old heaters back in those like, it's like one of these like these big, it's like the heater is like gray and it's like big and everlasting, and it's like this huge, and it's like literally stapled into the ground, like one of those old houses. I'm being dead serious. And there would be like multiple times, especially when I'm back. I am so sorry for that. Just my mother is just talking, and she's like, when she talks, she likes to be very, very loud to where you can't hear yourself, even though you're trying to film. And anyway, I do want to apologize if I look like off or anything in this video. I'm usually not this off. I think it's just the lighting and all that stuff. So, anywho, and I just don't feel that good right now. Like, I don't feel like my usual self. Anywho, so as I was saying, yeah, and it's just really annoying because like all those awful conditions and all that stuff, and then on top of that, it's not even your like it's not even your place to add on to that. It's them. Like yes, that's another thing she had. She also had like a rule of like if someone would like visit you, could only come for a certain amount of days, and then they'd have to get out of the apartment. Like they could like they overstayed stayed their welcome. She could literally kick you and them both out of the apartment, and she had to know who it was and all that stuff. And then on top of that, I literally became the girl that everybody knew that was like, oh, if someone talked about me, be like, oh, I know her, she lives at the red door. And it's very annoying because I just wanted to have peace in my life, and it's like I don't know where all these other people live, and I really don't care. I don't want them to know where I live. I just want to be the girl that goes to school and lives her life, and nobody can bother. And it was just very, very annoying. But so now for me, nobody really knows where I live unless I tell them, or unless like they live around me or they drive by me or something. Like they see me at my house, so I have more peace of mind. I live in the suburbs now. I have like my own room now because like for like a couple years I didn't actually have my room, but that's a different story. I don't want to get into that. But then after a while living in an apartment and things started to change, and I finally got my own room, so that was a good thing. But it still sucked due to the fact that like people could literally just push open my room door and they could just come in, because that's how the apartment itself was like built. But this room that I have now, if people want to come in, they have to knock. So that's a good thing. And I love that. Like I could not have any peace in my mind. Like I would be crying and all that stuff. And people would literally just push open my room door, and it was like no privacy. But this apartment, not apartment, this house I live in, they can't do that. Like I can cry if I want to. And was there any other stuff that came with living in the apartment that was literal hell? Oh, it was definitely in my room, I'll be honest, because there would be a few times I would just be in my room and there would be like dudes or whatever, and they'd just be outside my window. Because I remember, and it happened twice. Like I remember one time one of them was like a house fixer, and they were just like outside of my window, just sitting on the roof, and it was so scary because I'm like, why are you outside my window sitting on the fucking roof? Leave me alone. He wasn't bothering me or anything, but just made me uncomfortable because it's like I could literally be changing and he's outside sitting on the roof, and he could be possibly watching me change, or anything could happen, and he's just like out there watching. And then there was another time where like there was this dude who was literally dressed up in all black, literally looking like he was about to rob the place. Literally comes out, and he's just literally outside of the my window, and he's just like watching me. And then after that, it looks like he's about to rob the place or whatever. There is nothing of value in that apartment. And he's just like watching me, and then he literally just, after he's watching me or whatever, he like gets from watching me, and he like gets out of the window and just like leaves. And it was just so scary because I'm like, who is this man, and why are you dressed in all black looking like you're about to rob my ass of no value in this no value apartment? It's not worth it. Leave me alone. And it was just scary. And then on top of that, there's the next thing I forgot to add. The apartment literally has no in how do you say, like whenever you say things, people can hear you. So like if you want to talk smack or you want to say say good things or whatever, people can hear you. You could literally be talking about popcorn and they can hear you. Same way they talk about popcorn, you can hear them. But I think it was more due to the fact that it was like in my room that they can hear you. But the ground rule is that they can hear you, so you have to be careful what you say. There's also that aspect of it. And then after that, she would also add every month $50 on the rent. She'd also have that too. And then there was the lease and all that stuff. It was just so much. I I don't know how I survived literally 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't know how I survived like 4 years in that house, in that apartment. I don't know. But all I know is that I wish I didn't, because like living over there was a lot of like bad stuff because of like the cat calling and the cat calling for me, the drugs, it was like the staring, it was like the guy that literally almost tried to like take me when I was like 11. It was, and like I'm trying to think of all the other stuff that I was, but I'm just remembering out of my head. And it was like the harassment and stuff like that, because there were times where I would just be walking and stuff like that, and they would just like just make me uncomfortable and stare at me, and it was just a lot. Like if they would like say things like whisper under the, it was just too much. Like they look at you and they like think things like, you just see someone there looking at you and they're just thinking like, they're just about to say something about you, like, yeah, I'll explain it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Where it comes down to like the whole heating, I know I said the temperature and everything, but I'm really being dead serious. Every time where she would legit turn up the temperature, and I would literally just be stuck in the rooms and everything, and it would turn up to the point where it's like boiling, like you're in some hot savannah country and it's like everything is just like boiling. Like you go into the bathroom and it's like going and like literally every like the how to say, like the wind, not the windows, but like the bathroom, because there weren't windows in the bathroom, the window, not window, but like the mirrors and everything is steaming because of this like evaporation all over them. And then it's like you're in literal hell because how much you turn up the heat and everything. And then like I remember like our last weeks of staying there, they would have like these like animals and all this stuff, and those animals would stay in like the walls, and you could hear it because they'd be like chewing through them. Like when I say living there was bad, I mean living there was bad. And then there would be times where like I hated living there because people would know where I live, and I'm a person where like I like my privacy. Like I remember time people would ding door ditch with my door. They would literally, I remember people like throwing glass at my apartment. It was like literally out of control, and I just needed to get out of there. But there was nothing at that point that we could do but just live there for a couple of years, and then eventually we would move out. Also, for the reasons why I didn't really say anything when I was living there was because, number one, I only lived there for like a little couple of years and all that stuff, even though I really, sorry, it doesn't actually cost me a live, and I really don't want to. However, it was only a couple of years, and I didn't really lose all of like my years there, just like a couple. And also because like I didn't want to have like the fear of like going into like a home or like foster care or adoption, because like a lot of times when those stuff happen because of like your parental situation, stuff like that happens, and I didn't want to be in that situation because like I don't want to go and live with some strangers and stuff. And also people ask why I would never say anything with that was because like there was nothing really that could have been done. And because like when those men would be there, they would be there for like a minute, like the window situations and stuff, like they would be there for a minute and then they'd be like gone. As for the catcall situations, they would just like be there doing whatever they want. I would just like try to my best to ignore it, even though what they were saying was like very disrespectful. And that's like it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.